So it's calling the meeting to order at 5:31. Josh is on the road and may be able to call in, so we're hopeful that he will be able to join us soon. But meanwhile, we are going to continue on. First, a reminder that meetings of the Select Board are meetings conducted in public. They are not meetings of the public. Nonetheless, members of the public shall be afforded reasonable opportunities to express opinions about matters conducted by the Select Board, so long as order is maintained. The rules for public comment are: at the conclusion of a Select Board discussion on an agenda item, but before any action is taken, there be 10 minutes afforded to public comment. Comments made by the public must be addressed to the chair or to the Select Board as a whole, and not to any individual members of the Select Board or members of the public. Members of the public must be acknowledged by the chair before speaking. If a member of the public has already spoken on a topic, they shall not be recognized again until others have first been given the opportunity to comment. Order and decorum shall be maintained throughout the meeting. Personal, impertinent, threatening, or profane remarks will not be tolerated. For those who are participating via Zoom, please note that chat is not an appropriate avenue for public comment. All public comments must be made verbally when acknowledged by the chair. A reminder to all that this meeting is being recorded and may appear on the internet. And I'm just going to let everyone know that this is a regular Select Board meeting, so I know a lot of you are here specifically for the candidate forum, but there are some items of business that we have to get to first, so bear with us. Karen, are there any adjustments to the agenda?
No.
All right, so we'll move on to the approval of minutes. Can you make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from April 6, 2022.
All right, and I will second.
And I'll second that.
Hey, Josh. All right, Josh
Aye.
is seconded. All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of April 6, 2022. And I would just like to make, I'm sorry, not April's, yes, April 6th.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes. I would like to make a change under Select Board item 7B, sewer water commissioners. I just want the minutes to reflect that I recused myself from that discussion. Otherwise, I don't have any changes. Does anybody else?
The only thing I wondered about, Eileen, and I don't know, I don't have an answer to this, was under Liquor Commission, and I think under the sewer and water as well, the names of the approvals that we issued were not listed.
They are now.
Yeah, they are
all
in
are.
the minutes I have.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure they were.
Okay.
Yeah, the first draft, they were not, and
Okay.
then I had
Yeah.
them revised.
Okay. So that's already been fixed. Okay, so is there any other discussions on the minutes? Are there any public comments on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 So next is warrants to the treasurer, Karen.
I'll make a motion that we approve and execute the warrants to the treasurer as presented upon completion of review.
Do a second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the warrants to the treasurer as presented upon completion of review. Now you're up, Karen.
Thank you. Payroll warrant dated April 22nd, 2022, excuse me, in the amount of $21,477.66. You will notice that there's at least 4 first responders. They had some training, swift water rescue training.
Okay.
So training consisted of 4 folks, 52 hours, 61 hours, 61 hours, and 52 hours. So it's a little higher than normal, but it's because of the training.
Okay. Josh, do you have any questions on the payroll?
No.
Any questions on payroll? All right, moving on.
So moving on, we have accounts payable dated April 9th, 2022 through April 22nd, 2022, in the amount of $49,812.91. This is a good payables. It's low. There's nothing really out of the normal here. Cargill is salt, that might be, that is most likely the last invoice we'll see for that.
Okay.
The only other thing, I mean, it's all normal stuff. So.
Allen Engineering, is that?
Who is that?
Allen Engineering.
That is for chlorine and chemicals for wastewater treatment plant.
Okay.
Yeah. And the only other thing is Twin State Truck Service. So you'll see parts, the 2017 Ram and the 2012 Western Star had some springs replaced. So that's, yeah.
Okay.
So there was a lot of different things. And the 2019 Western Star too had some, a little bit of work done to it. And the Ram. But.
Okay. Josh, do you have any questions?
I don't.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Is there any discussion on the warrants? Is there any public comment on the warrants?
I just want to state all this info, well, except for the warrants are not online, but the rest of the packet is on the website.
Okay, great. All right, so if there's no further discussion on the warrants, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Next is public comment on items not on the agenda. Is there any public comments? Swift.
Swift has her hand up.
Hey, Swift.
Hi, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to bring our attention to some events last week and in two different ways. Just so the first two I'm acknowledging are more tragedies and drama, of one being the murder of Fern Feather, a 29-year-old transgender woman from Heinsberg who was murdered on April 12th, 2022. And also there was an arrest of a person from Wilder, Vermont, who had an arsenal of weapons, pipe bombs, and Nazi paraphernalia. And I'm just bringing this in as just recognizing that these events are still happening, and even in Vermont, where we see ourselves as protected, and just honoring the work that we are doing in Vermont, and that it's required, and all of here and all over the world. And I ask that we commit to taking continuous actions to ensure safety for all we can here in Putney. Just taking a breath, honoring that. And then the other piece I want to bring in is that this week was a convergence of three holidays of Ramadan, Easter, and Passover. And I wanted to read something that Starhawk, an author, wrote in response to that, which I thought was really beautiful. So I wanted to bring that in. So as these holidays coincide, there was an opportunity to honor. Today, the three holidays coincide, reminding us that these three peoples, who today are so often in conflict, draw spiritual sustenance from the same roots and have also lived together in harmony many, many times throughout history. All three holidays celebrate regeneration: Easter, the sacrifice and the resurrection of Jesus; Passover, the bitterness of slavery and the joy of liberation; Ramadan, the voluntary hunger and thirst of fasting and the renewal of faith and commitment. Our ancestors lived in a world of far greater want and uncertainty than those of us who live in the privileged world we experience today. Yet we too have faced disease, war, the ravages of fires and floods as the climate deteriorates from the violence of prejudice and hate. May the convergence of these holidays remind us that we are all vulnerable bodies in a world of great forces beyond our control, and yet we can choose to meet life with creativity, courage, and compassion, with love for one another and for this beautiful gift of the world. May this holiday season inspire us to be agents of justice, liberation, and regeneration. And that's again from Starhawk, the author. So just wanting to honor those holidays and the past few weeks. Thanks.
Thank you, Swift.
Thank you, Swift. Is there any other public comment on items not on the agenda? Anybody in the room? Anybody else online? Okay, hearing none. Town manager's report.
So I wanted to give the board and the community an update on the FEMA. So River Road, Project 3 and 5 have been submitted. 4 is going to be submitted shortly. The total reimbursement from damages at this point is $679,392.91. We just got notification too through Vermont Emergency Management. So FEMA was going to cover 75%. They are now going to cover 90%
Wow,
of that storm damage.
that's awesome.
And we still have ERAF at 17.5.
So they're still honoring that as well?
I'm not sure how that's going to work yet.
Okay.
So we're just going to get through. We got to submit Project 4 and Cemetery Road.
Okay.
So once I get those figures too, that add to that number.
So it's possible that it will be 100%? Is that really
That's
possible?
it's possible. That's what I'm seeing.
Wow.
I don't think we're going to get more, but I mean if the 17.5% sticks, I'm thinking we're going to be in, good shape. But
Cool.
at 90% right now, it's $611,453.62. And we did take the line of credit for $500,000. So it's
Good.
covered
Good.
at this point.
That's
But, and I want to thank Tom Goddard and everyone else that, from the day of the storm through this process of reimbursement, it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
And Brian Arlo too, the road superintendent, has been involved in it too. But it's pulling a lot of numbers together and coordinates and pictures. It's a process with FEMA.
I have no doubt.
Wilson Wetlands, Sand Hill Road. I don't really know what to say. I'm disappointed in many different ways. I'm discouraged in a lot of ways. I don't know if people have been down there, but there's not much water. So the dam is open, the beaver are not around. It's pretty muddy, and now the turtle crossing signs have disappeared.
Mhm.
So I don't know what's going on, but it's very discouraging.
Karen, can I ask 2 questions? One, do we have any reason to believe that this isn't part of just a natural cycle of beavers coming and going?
I'm not really sure. I mean, we've had a lot of rain, and I mean, I was over there the last rainstorm, and the water was moving pretty quickly. But it appears the dam might have opened up in December, and that's why the beaver left, because apparently all their food source was exposed. But, and Lionel, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm like, so we don't really know what's happening, Josh, but we do still have the grant that we submitted. So hopefully if we're awarded the grant through the state, we might be able to determine what's going on. But I did go for a site walk with Mary Quinn, and you could see where the water just came right over the field by the pool.
Mhm.
It was just like all laid down.
Yeah. Yep, that's
So-
been happening a lot more.
Yeah, but I know a lot of people enjoy the wetlands down there, and I was able to see some turtles and some ducks, but Yeah, I just,
Um,
I'm at a loss of words right now.
Josh, did you want to say something?
I just wanted that I want to hopefully, I mean, hopefully there wasn't any sort of human intervention that was involved in this, because I know that's been a concern in the past. It sounds like probably not this time around. But I want to jump back to the topic before for just a second. Karen, sorry, I was going to ask a question, but I was on mute. When that FEMA money comes in, where does that end up? I mean, do we owe the full 500 on the note that we took out?
Yes,
Okay, so 500 will go to that, and then the rest will go as a reimbursement to us in the general fund. Is that correct?
it'll go in the highway fund.
Oh, sorry, highway. Yeah, of course, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it'll go. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, yeah, that's,
Hi.
I want to thank
Could I just
everybody.
make-
Hold on 1 second.
I just want to thank everyone too that volunteers and works down at the wetlands, you know, to keep the fences clear and, you know, they put a lot of time down there. And I know Forest for Learning too is, you know, down there doing things with the kids and making trails and so hopefully we can, you know, enjoy the wetlands and walk through and walk out.
Yeah, it's
Hi, this is
Hold on.
Ann on the phone.
Sorry.
Could I make a quick
Yeah,
comment?
Anne, did you have a comment?
Yeah, well, I just want to thank Karen for her concern and for taking the time to go out and walk the whole area with Mary, who can't be here. She's left for another couple of weeks. And obviously we're all concerned. And the question about whether or not the beavers have left because the food supply has run out, they still have plenty of food. There's plenty of alder and willow and cottonwoods, which are at the top of their list of things to eat. And we can hope they come back and fix the dam at some point.
Okay, thank you. Janice, did you have something?
I was kind of going to say the same thing. Thank you for the community, the town being so interested. It feels, I mean, somebody who walks there all the time, it's such a precarious time right now. We're looking forward to seeing the ducks and the geese nesting in certain places, and those places are gone. The water's gone for them and they'll disappear. And so it's good to know that everyone's concerned.
Well, it's our water source over there too. That's my concern,
Of course.
you know, along with the wildlife. It's,
Yeah.
anyways, moving on. So I also want to mention policies and ordinance require annual review by the select board. We have not been doing that, and I don't know when it ever gets done, but in your packet is a list of our policies and ordinances.
Okay.
And you will see the year they were signed. You know, some are as old as 1978.
Yeah, I saw that.
And 1999, 1984. So some of these are already a work in progress because we are doing, working with the human resource consultant at Deptiva. And anything related to the employee handbook will be getting updated. And it will be referenced in that employee handbook.
Okay.
There are several that we probably should take a look at. Laws change. Policies and ordinances should be following that. And I just had an incident too with the sign ordinance is, I forgot, it was 19 something. And in there, I had to do a site visit today for a sign, and it was landmark. So they're a planned educational development permit. And it states in the sign ordinance that the planning commission, because they have a PUD, they have to review and approve the sign
Okay.
permit. Well, planning commission doesn't do that anymore.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, I'll just take care of it. But that's one incident. The other thing too is, the fees on these ordinances, $10. So I'd probably put in 3 hours just for this sign for Landmark. It doesn't even cover my costs, okay? And that's not the only one. So transient and temporary business license regulations. So, a lot of food carts coming into town, $10. It takes my time,
Yeah.
not only mine, but Tom Goddard's, because he's a state code inspector.
Yeah.
It could be Brian Harlow too, looking at, making sure the sign's not in the sight vision. Highway access permit for driveway,
Right.
free. Okay, no town
Wow.
just gives that service away.
Yeah.
Brian goes up there, he looks at it, then, they put the driveway in, he's gotta go back up, he's gotta make sure, they have culverts, whatever, it's like, that's our time
Yeah.
that, and, we're not charging for that. So I wanna change that, and I will look around other towns and see what their price ranges are.
Okay.
But it's up to the select board to make those
Okay.
those fee changes.
I'm certainly in favor of updating the fees and fee structure. We've mentioned that we need to find other sources of revenue, so
Right.
we should at least be paying for town employees' time to
And I
To
think
do
zoning
these permits.
application fees too need to be re-looked at.
Yeah. Tom, did you have something?
Yeah, just along the same lines to go along with that. Not only are there employee hours involved, but also each of us here at Town Hall. Brian's got the equipment over the garage. I've got stuff at the firehouse. We've all got IT related and software related expenses that go along, that coincide with all this permitting and all that. And that's got to get paid for. Not all within one permit, but that's all got to get accounted for in there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we should definitely look into those.
We also have a blight ordinance that's drafted up, sidewalk maintenance policy that's drafted. We need a roof maintenance policy, event ordinance possibly. Our animal control is still in draft format. So these are things that I'm looking at, and Jonathan Johnson has a legal background, so I'm gonna pull him in to help me with some of this stuff.
Great.
So,
Yeah, I think that'd be a great goal for us this year to update
Yes.
all of those.
yeah. The appeal for Windham Windsor Housing Trust is still moving forward. Just to let the board know that our town attorney has written to the court. So he is just gonna, if we need him, he's on board and
Okay.
he'll be available, but I'm just letting you know.
All right. Thanks.
The pool, I contacted the pool guy, Rick Pettit, because it does need to be repaired.
Yeah. Was that
He's
crack?
away. Yeah, there's two actually.
Oh,
I was up there when I went to see Mary. Joe's gonna clean it out and drain it, but Rick is on vacation till May 4th. And then he stated that when there's a 60-degree day, he will be there to fix the pool.
All right.
I'm like, well, let's hope that happens soon.
We had a couple. I wasn't already there.
I wanted it fixed and filled by the end of May, but I don't know, that might be asking for too much.
It's gonna warm up. It will.
Yeah. One other comment I want to make, and I see Mr. Bain is here tonight. So Pierce Road, it washed out from July 29th storm. And there's still a question about Pierce Road, Meeting House Lane. So it has been fixed from the East Putney Falls side up to Mr. Bain's house. And I suspect you did that? Or you contracted somebody to do that?
Well, I haven't been able to get in my house for 9 months, ma'am, so I had to do something.
Yeah. So just for a little clarity too, because I've been going back and forth with the state of Vermont.
Mhm.
And Pierce Road technically is 0.04 miles, which is approximately 200 feet, which goes to Ian Diamondstone's driveway, pretty much. From there, it turns into a legal trail.
Ah.
And whether or not Meeting House Lane goes all the way down to Mr. Diamondstone's driveway, I don't know that. And whether or not that legal trail was drawn up in 1984, I don't know that either. So, given that it's a legal trail, the town is not obligated to maintain it. But there was a lot of damage. I was up there, I looked at it, and I'm sure it was, an expensive fix.
Mhm.
But again, class 4 and legal trails, we do not maintain. I have asked Brian possibly if we need to put a sign up there that says town right of way, not maintained. And that is an option. So the other thing too is the only way, Mr. Bain, that road, if it's brought up to state standards and it's petitioned to the select board to take it over, that's an option, but that too is up to, whoever is living on that road to absorb that cost as well. I mean, we have Taylor Road, we have Turner Trail, they're class 4 roads, and those people maintain those roads. And, come mud season, they're getting, gravel. Wintertime, they're plowing. Turner Trail is, like, I was up there one year and it was a mess. It had so much water and it was, it's unfortunate, but it's an option in the future if that's something you want to consider. But I'm happy to see that the road is actually passable. That's all I have.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the select board on town manager's report? Josh, I'm sorry, did you?
No.
Okay, Josh, do you have anything to add? You still there?
No, I'm all set, thanks.
Okay, is there any public comment on the town manager's report? Lionel?
I just had a question. You mentioned in the permitting that you're working on the ordinances, rather.
Yes.
You mentioned sidewalk maintenance ordinance or something.
Policy.
And policy,
Yeah.
and that was something that came up in the candidates' discussion.
Okay.
One of the candidates mentioned the sidewalk specifically, and that was something that I know Howard Fairman felt strongly was appropriate and important thing for the town to keep up with, and it's something that I also feel is a great value to the town, and it's one of the things that makes Putney better than a lot of other towns. It is how walkable it is.
Yeah.
So I was curious what the policy either is currently or how you might be developing it going forward.
So we have a reserve account that was voted on by folks in Putney. And with that reserve account, I said, well, we best get some sort of policy to, how are we going to use it, So basically what I've done is I've gone to other towns that have a sidewalk maintenance policy. So it's not necessarily for building new sidewalks, Lionel, but it is to maintain them, because you're right. Some of them are getting, cracked and, they're a hazard if, somebody trips and falls. So, cement comes up and they have to be redone or whatever. So I'm writing it. It's not very long right now, but it's I'm hoping that it'll, the community can weigh in on it too,
And if I could just ask, is this the purview of Public Works? I assume it would be another job of the Highway Department?
Yeah, they take care of them now.
Uh-huh.
But most of the time they're contracted out, right, Tom? I haven't seen any
As far as
sidewalks
building them,
No, maintaining.
maintaining.
yeah, maintaining it's, the only time there's been work done by contractors is if there's been damage done either by other contractors or by the contractor that then repairs it, or if there's been utilities work done that requires them to dig the sidewalk up,
Right,
then they put it back.
yeah. But just that in normal wear and tear and weather, they break down, obviously.
Yeah, that's all
So,
that way.
yeah,
I'm thinking of vegetation management as well.
yes.
There are places
Yep.
where it's growing in, and
Yep,
especially with the ticks, it would be very helpful to have the bushes and the branches moved back so that people aren't brushing up against it.
so my understanding is that property owners are supposed to maintain. And then if the highway department, if it becomes a problem, they'll go in and they will trim. So, and usually, they'll just do what they gotta do, and it might not look pretty, but they're gonna get it done. But they do maintain, to keep them open and walkable, and, I know there's some breakdown of some of the sidewalks, and, we gotta take care of those. I agree with you on that. So, once the policy too is in place, and hopefully this year, that's on my list,
We can do outreach and
right,
make it happen.
right,
Awesome.
okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Karen, one more thing since the sidewalks came up, we never finished that section of sidewalk between the general store going north, and I know we had an agreement with Neil Maddow about that, or I know we discussed an agreement. So we should, since another winter has passed and now we have a building season, we should explore getting that done.
Correct, yep. Now it came back to me, Josh. You're right. But I don't know what he's doing right now.
Yeah, I think that we had thought that was going to get done last summer season, but
Right.
It's been sitting for quite a while, so we should reopen that discussion.
I will reach out to Neil.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, is there any other public comment on the town manager's report in the room? Online? Hearing none, we should move on to select board new business discussion and action. And the first piece is the local emergency management plan review and adoption. Tom, I believe you're up on that one.
So you have a copy in front of you, and I did not make copies for everyone because
Okay.
it's so large.
I tried to read this online, but some of it was landscape, so I was like, read this.
Yes.
Okay.
So every year we're required to have our local emergency management plan approved, and then once that's approved and the proper documentation is signed, we submit the entire package to Windham Regional Commission. It's reviewed. They forward it on our behalf to the state of Vermont, and then also it gets forwarded to, with all the approvals, it gets forwarded to FEMA. So this year we modified the plan in a few different ways, and the plan isn't typically when somebody refers to a plan, they automatically have an idea that it's a policy that's set in stone, it's a program that's set in stone, and it's not fluid at all whatsoever, and this is the way things are gonna go. This plan isn't like that. It's set up as a strategic guideline only, with some reviews of, and some references to history as far as events that have taken place, the impacts that we've known, the responses, both positive and negative, that have worked and not worked. And then we just continue to add to that as time goes on. So the plan is pretty extensive. Historically, our plans have been extensive. They go well and beyond what the minimum requirements are. So again, everything was updated this year. We did make some specific updates relative to COVID and what we learned as far as the pandemic goes. There will be more added to that as we go on, and some after action things are reviewed, so on and so forth. This last storm back in June, we definitely learned some things with that pertaining to FEMA. And some different hoops we need to go jump through, and some different things we need to do in the future to prep for that we've never had to do before. So that those things are in there. And there'll be some more added as Karen and Brian and I finish up with FEMA during the course of our grant stuff. Other than that, everything is pretty. It's all pretty straightforward. Is it easy to understand? No, not unless you use it all the time.
Sure.
Or are involved in it. And historically, there's never been any issues. The select board is obviously and the town manager are obviously support within the plan, and certainly during responses, they're the primary support. The town manager gets a little bit more involved, and that's pretty much it. So again, we're asking for your approval tonight, and the documents to be signed. Karen has them, right? You've got the form? Okay. And then they'll be submitted to Windham Regional and the state by the end of the week.
Okay.
So Tom, how?
Eileen, I'd like to.
Whoops, sorry.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the local emergency management plan as presented.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the local emergency management plan as presented. Discussion, Karen.
I have a question for Tom Goddard. How much time is spent on this plan? How much?
Reviewing, updating,
Yeah.
getting it, and then at the end, and during April, getting it ready for
Yeah.
submittal.
Yes.
Anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks worth of time. Not all at once,
You do it
but
throughout the year?
throughout the course of the year.
So as things
Going into the
change-
plan, there's always things that need to be modified. One big thing that, Eileen, was it you earlier today, or somebody in an email exchange noted that there are some contact information changes coming for, at the time it was the Putney school.
Yep.
And in fact, there's gonna be several changes for contact.
I guess,
Just that alone
Central School
between-
as well, yeah.
Yeah, the schools are gonna go through some changes, there's some other places that are gonna go through changes. So just that alone, every time something changes, we've gotta get in there, update it, modify it, so on and so forth. So throughout the course of the year, there's probably 4 to 6 weeks worth of time that's spent just on that in the planning associated with the plan.
Okay.
So once we have this approved by the powers that be, we'll get the copy online
Okay.
for the public.
Good. The 400 and some odd pages to read. All right, is there further discussion among the select board on the emergency management plan? Josh, are you good?
Yes, I'm all set, thanks.
All right, is there public comment in the room? Janice?
So it's going to be online for the community to review before, okay.
Not before it gets approved.
Oh, okay. So the select board that are voting on tonight have all read it and studied it?
I haven't read every single page, but I've read enough to.
We've been through it, but
We've been
there's
through it,
4
but
pages.
I noted contact information.
I know, it sounds
so-
like a lot, and I
Yeah.
haven't read it, and I never read one of the other ones, so I just have a broad question. What are the parameters of emergencies that this covers? I mean, we're talking principally about physical emergencies like floods and tornadoes and things like that?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty
and
much. So
are-
significant snowstorm events, icing events, there have been times where we've had chemical related incidents at the mill,
Right.
where specifically where we've had to enact at least a portion of the plan or special pieces of the plan. Transportation events, both rail and roadway, interstate, where there were possibly hazardous materials releases or widespread damage.
What about, I don't want to use the word terrorism, but, something like if somebody was holding some people as hostage at the school or something like that.
That's all included.
Is that dealt with? And
Yep.
you mentioned COVID.
Yep.
So what sort of additions did you make with regard to COVID?
Strictly, it was on the planning side of things and what we realized for issues that will arise during a pandemic. So again, this plan does not reference much, nor does it dictate at all what physical responses will look like or what tactics will look like. It's not a tactical plan at all whatsoever.
Okay, I guess that was one of my questions, is the way for, certainly I remember during COVID, the role that Putney Mutual Aid played in trying to keep people connected when they weren't able to be connected. Is that something that's the purview of this?
Yes.
That would
Yes.
Be, okay. How to connect with people when they don't have ways of being connected, the normal ways of doing. Thanks. I probably won't be able to read it all, but it's interesting to know.
It's interesting bedtime reading.
It's important.
Is there any other public comment in the room online? Anyone online have a comment on the emergency management plan? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. I'll sign that later. And I have lost my agenda. Okay, here we are. And then we also wanted to talk a little bit about Rescue Inc., the update with the news from Brattleboro, and should we be concerned at all? And I guess that's also you, Tom.
Yep, over the course of the last week and a half, I've had a few different lengthy two telephone conversations and one face-to-face meeting with Drew Hazelton, the Chief of Operations at Rescue. He is assuring not only us, but all of the remaining towns that Rescue Inc. will be serving, that for the period of our current contracts, 3-year contracts, we'll see no change in operations, no change in level of service, and no change in assessment dollars. Beyond that, his goal is to, again, maintain the level of service and the continuity of service. Neither of those are we truly worried about at all whatsoever. We know it's going to be there. As far as the assessment dollars are concerned, he's assured us that every step possible will be taken to ensure that those assessments don't increase any more than what we would typically see or even expect.
Okay.
Now that's not to say, aside from whatever's gone on with Brattleboro, the other side of it is we can't account for the what ifs that could come about at any given time under any other given circumstances. So that's the piece that we all just have no idea about.
Okay.
So
And how many more years do we have contracted with them?
we just signed our 3-year contract,
Did
right?
we? Did we do that this year?
Yes, okay, so we've got 3 years.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So this 2023, we have no increase.
Okay.
And then it was supposed to be a slight increase for 24, 25. We don't have the rates, but
But that's what we agreed to.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there more discussion among the select board on the Rescue Inc. Issue? Is there any public comment in the room? Any public comment online? Hearing none, we can move on to the part everybody's been waiting for.
Thank you, folks. Good night.
This is the public informational portion of our meeting tonight. I'd like to welcome our 6 select board candidates who are all online, right? I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who are we missing?
3, 4, 5, 6. No, they're there.
There, okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, good. We will begin by giving each candidate 5 minutes to introduce themselves and to answer a question, which I'll give you in a moment. And then we will open it up to public comment. Any questions from the public should be addressed to the candidates as a whole, and members of the public are reminded they must be acknowledged by the chair before speaking. Okay, the question is, what is one strength you will bring to assist in guiding town affairs as a select board member? And we're just going to go in order as you appear on the ballot. So I am going to begin with Charlie. Charlie, you're on mute. Still on mute. Oh, no.
Now I should be okay.
Now you're on. All right.
Sorry, folks. I'm Charlie Robacek. I'm running for the 2-year seat. I live on West Hill Road. I've been here for 15 years with my wife, Ann McDonald. And I, by profession, have been a lawyer, 45 years in practice. And I am running for the board because I believe, based upon my legal experience and my board experience, I can contribute a lot to the town. As far as boards are concerned, I'm currently on the Putney Development Review Board and the Board of Groundworks Collaborative in Brattleboro. And I've been on the boards of Yellow Barn and on the Board of Trustees of the Riverside Church in New York. I look forward to the opportunity to serve the town. I believe that one of the key things that the town needs to address is the revitalization of businesses in the center of town. We have had a pretty rough time over the last 5 to 8 years with Irene, the recession, and other factors that have led businesses to close. Some of the money, hopefully, that we're going to get from the American Rescue Plan can go to building can go to construction or improvements to the existing buildings in town. If some of those buildings are owned by others, I think they ought to be approached and see whether or not someone in town or elsewhere can purchase those buildings. Examples of businesses that we could bring to town are the return of our pharmacy, which with the passing of Jim had to close, a decent hardware store, maybe a salon / barbershop, and as may very well happen, a retail establishment for marijuana sale or recreational sale. I know that the voters of Putney really have strong views on a lot of issues. Believe me, if I am elected, I will hear all your views and bring a full hearing and consideration to the matters that you raise. And I appreciate the chance to talk to you all.
Okay, thank you. Elizabeth, you're up.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Harris Warner, and I am delighted to see more people engaged in the select board process and in the governance of Putney. And I'm very excited to have the opportunity to listen to more people about what we feel will benefit the whole community. I have a lot of good things and I've seen a lot of concerning things. And I'm very hopeful that with more engagement of the community, that we can have a better vision for what is in the best interest of the whole community. I also feel that it's time for more engagement of women and BIPOC folks and LGBTQ, as well as people who've been here forever who live in affordable housing or don't live in affordable housing. We need more engagement. I noted we have 21 spots available in committees right now. That's a huge amount. We just had over 600 people vote on town meeting day. That is sad. I really feel kind of excited for the increase in engagement and hope we can carry this forward. And every one of the candidates will go on to committees as they go forward, whether or not you're on the select board, be engaged. So I look forward to opportunities to help grow this town with smart growth, with thoughtful integration, and I'm looking forward to bringing in, if I'm elected, specialists in the fields of urban planning and park development and web design to also increase accessibility through the website of the town, which we've all mentioned that needs some updating. And I want to thank our town manager and everybody who's been serving for all the hard work. It's so complex. The more I read, the more I learn, the more I understand the depth of knowledge that everyone has to hold in order to serve the town properly. It's kind of like going to graduate school. So I will do my very best to learn and to be approachable and to do what's best for the whole community and to be stable and thoughtful. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. Moving on to the one-year positions. Peg, you're up.
Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm Peg Alden. I have lived here in Putney for 20 plus years and I've been working at Landmark for 20 plus years. I too, like Elizabeth, I'm very excited about the engagement here, that we have so many people interested in running for the select board. I think is super important. I'm eager to bring, I have not been on town committees, but I have participated in town committees and participated in a lot of volunteer opportunities in town. I have, my work at the college I do a lot of work bridging across differences at the college. And that's one of the things that I feel like I can bring to the town is my skill at being able to bridge across a lot of differences. I just want to say that I feel like we're all pretty overwhelmed and exhausted by the things that we've been confronted with in the last few years, between the pandemic and divisiveness on the national level and conflict on our local level. And now we have a war going on in Europe, and it's really easy to be tired and overwhelmed and angry and discouraged. And I'm really committed to bringing a sense of focus on the things that need to be done here in town and kind of trying to leave some of the conflict aside. One of the strengths that I bring, which was the question that you asked, Eileen, was, I'd say the biggest strength that I bring to this position is my creative problem solving. I'm a super good problem solver, and I'm very excited to learn. I also agree with Elizabeth about the incredible depth of what needs to be learned in order to serve the town. And to tell you the truth, it's kind of exciting to me. I'm eager to learn that. So I very much look forward to serving the town if I'm elected. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Peg. Next on the list is Laura Campbell. Laura, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Laura Campbell. I live in Putney Meadows. And I've lived here in town since, I've been back in town since 1990. I think the strength that I bring is improvisatory, if you will. I left a career in New York, which had caused me to leave Putney in 1975, and came back in 1990 and set up my private voice studio in Putney and taught classical singing. And it was a wonderful period of my life to be teaching what I had learned through singing professionally in New York and going to conservatory, which I never planned to do. But what I want to say is what an honor it is to be among people running for the Putney Selectboard on Earth Day, or coming up on Earth Day. And I would say that my sensitivities are towards our planet and our environment, and somehow reducing the pressures that our environment is under. And I think to be in Putney, where fresh air is still available and the quality of life includes peace and serenity and gardening and observing. I'm a great stargazer and moon watcher. And I want this community to be safe and secure. I want people living in the village to be able to enjoy peacefully our village. And I think I'm probably living closer to the site of the proposed housing project than most people on the screen. And it will certainly impact what I see and hear and the quality of the air that I breathe. And so I want there to be a lot of clarity about the assessment of the proposal. And I want there to be discourse. I want there to be consensus and unanimity about the vision. And I'm working to accomplish that by having initiated a review of the DRB decision to approve the zoning permit. I realize that's not a popular initiative, perhaps, but I feel it's a necessary one because I sat through all the discussion, all the DRB meetings, the select board meetings, and the planning commission meetings. And I've been studying our zoning regulations and subdivision regulations and town plan. And I see so many references to environmental issues and the climate crisis that we're in and the need for open spaces and outdoor places in case the COVID pandemic.
1 more minute, Laura.
Oh, really? I'm so sorry. Thank you for the heads up. So I really want to bring those values to the forefront of our community engagement in a way that I feel hasn't been readily possible for the last, 10 months I've been going to meetings. So thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Bryce.
Hello all. My name's Bryce Hodson, and I've only lived in Putney for 15 years, but I've lived on our family property, which the town line goes through the middle of for 49 years. So I've been a pretty integral part of Putney for a long time, just as Putney has a main city center. And I've traveled around the world, and honestly, I came back here to raise a family. So I have 2 little kids that go to school, and I really love the fact that Putney itself, everybody knows everybody's name, and it's really nice that if you're stuck or if you have to walk home, somebody will pick you up because you know most people. So I really love the fact that that's the case. I landscape, so I own my own business and I work in town all the time. And so I know all the ins and outs of all of Putney. And, I have a background in environmental science, is what I went to school for. So on that aspect, I agree 100% that, we just need to make sure that, environmentally we're doing the right thing. I also like, though, the fact that we have the Putney paper mill still in town. And that I think provides a lot of jobs for the people who, didn't go to college to remain in Putney. And I think that having a diverse group of people is such a nice place to be, in terms of all economic backgrounds. So in that sense, I really appreciate that, there are people in town that, represent all aspects of our group. In terms of what I could bring to the committee or the select board would be, just open spaces and understanding the fact that, my kids walk from the Putney Central School to the general store every once in a while, especially in the nicer days. And, they have a place for them to actually be, and run around or play tag in the center of town would be nice, as well as I remember when Putney was a big tourist town, when there were shops all above and around the general store, which we don't have. One of the big things too I'd like to try and see happen is more places to eat for dinner. I know parents like myself, when you get out of work at 5 or 6 o'clock, to run to Brattleboro to get a pizza because there's nowhere else open is difficult. So, I'd like to see in terms of infrastructure, that maybe the town focuses a little bit more on what services we all have, as well as if we do put in affordable housing, that we also may ensure that, people who are living in affordable housing have a place to actually provide services for them. So I guess that's kind of it, I'm sure everybody knows who I am by now. So thanks a lot.
All right, thank you. And last but not least, Perry, you're up.
All right. As you know, my name is Perry. I've lived in Putney since 4th grade. I've lived on River Road where the culvert washed out, and you guys replaced it. That's my parents' house. I've got 3 kids that go to the Putney Central School. I've worked in Putney half my life. I've worked at Mountain Paul's, picking worms in the worm shack out back. I was a dishwasher at the college. I worked at the Putney Inn. I'm a janitor now. I would like to see our town have more shops and stuff like everybody said. And I feel if I'm on the select board that I could bring a level-headed and non-biased view. And that's about it. That's all I got to say. So.
All right, short and sweet. All right, so I'd like to open it up to public questions. And just a reminder, please address your questions to all of the candidates, not to any individual candidates. I'm going to say to the candidates, if you feel like you want to answer a question, that's absolutely fine. If you don't want to answer a question or don't have an answer, that's fine too. So are there questions online on the public? Questions in the room? Janice.
Janice Baldwin, Priest Drive. First of all, I want to thank the Select Board and also the Huddle for making these opportunities available. No one in this town right now can say they haven't had a chance to get to know the candidates this year, and all the articles in the paper have been great for people. I'm excited about the energy that I'm feeling as well. I have kind of two questions. I was struck by both Elizabeth and Peg in their acknowledgement of the complexity of this job, and also sitting here tonight and seeing there's like 10 or 12 different issues, very varied, including ordinances and things that that as a select board person you're going to have to master, not right away, but eventually. And I'm interested to know what each of you candidates are planning. How would you bring yourself up to speed? How would you prepare to be on the select board? And my second question goes to kind of what Elizabeth mentioned, and I think Bryce in another conversation indicated too, is, well, if you don't get elected to the select board, what of all these committees that are listed here would you be interested in joining, volunteering for?
Okay, great. So I guess if you just want to raise your hands and I'll call on you as you do. Anybody want to answer those questions?
Yeah, I'll answer them once I
wait,
get
hold
on
on.
my cell phone.
Peg.
Sure. The first question about how I would prepare myself for the job is one I've been thinking about a lot, because I am very aware that what's required of the job is way more than I'm sure any of us could possibly do. Any of us are our wheelhouse of knowledge. So one thing I would do for sure is make use of the Vermont League of Cities and Towns and the resources that they have there for select board members, the trainings that they have for select board members. I would really look forward to participating in some of those workshops and town halls and, conferences, things like that. The other thing that it's funny, because as people have been asking me questions, I've already started keeping a file, and the file is I kind of call it the things that I don't know yet file. And that's where I've been sticking things, saying, okay, I need to research this. I need to research this. I need to understand more about this topic. And, it is one of my skill sets, is I'm a researcher, and I like doing that level of work. So that's one thing I would do, is pull up my file that I've already developed of things I need to know. And I would also be adding to that as I go. So those are things that I would do, as well as I feel like I just need to go around and meet some more, understand more about what's happening at the fire station, understand what's happening at the town hall, with the road crew, that I feel like I would need to familiarize myself more with those folks. And as far as if I'm not on the select board, what I would do in terms of committee work, I'm not sure yet. Certainly, I have a lot of experience with equity and inclusion work, so that's kind of a natural place to go. But I've also now become more interested in a lot of other things that the town's doing, and could imagine, the ARPA committee, I would be very interested in working on that committee, because I see it as a place where we can work together as a community and bridge some of our divides and do some exciting development for our community. So that's my answer.
All right. Elizabeth, I think I saw your hand.
Yes. I don't know how to do the hand raising.
Oh, you can just, I can see all of you. So actual hands are fine.
I feel like I accidentally started preparing for this a year ago. When I started going to meetings, and we did a zoning permit to convert a one-family house into 3 apartments. My friend and I did that, and we got to meet Tom Goddard in his official capacity, and we got to engage with Karen on another level, and it was really very exciting. We brought in the state electrical inspector and the state plumbing inspector, and we built some housing, and we enjoyed doing it, and learning about how the town is run kind of happened as part of that. I started going to meetings. I started to become more engaged. I was asked to join the Affordable Housing Committee by a member of the committee, and when I started asking questions, I was accused of being volatile, and I want to address that. I'm someone who asks questions. I'm someone who's an engaged citizen. I also am someone who's experienced a lot given where my location is, and I'm advocating for our community to really engage in thoughtful strategic planning that includes what Charlie was saying, economic development simultaneously with infrastructure, as Bryce was talking about, and housing, and that we need to really work strategically and put together a long-term plan. It can't just be reactive. It has to be, let's look at the next 2 years, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, and bring in people with fields of expertise. In the last month since I put my name in to run for this, I've talked to experts in urban planning and park development. I've talked to extensively to web designers, marketing and PR people. I have a friend who works as an architect in Salesforce who I helped facilitate the grammar school to get a better platform. As a volunteer, I brought in a lot of people, a lot of money, a lot of awareness to things in the community. And I really want us to do this strategically. And I feel we need the infrastructure, we need better transportation, and we need to work collaboratively. And I'm just so happy to see this engagement. And I look forward to what I call my graduate school of select board potential membership. And I will continue to learn and engage in communication. And I'm grateful for all of the people running. And I'm so excited to see our community really stepping up in such a big way. Thank you.
Charlie.
Yes, in terms of preparation, I have followed select board meetings both on TV and in person, read all the agendas and the minutes that I could. And I have interfaced with people on the select board, notably Josh, David Babbitt, and Eileen. And I've also been able to get experience dealing with planning and zoning issues by virtue of my friendship and service with PIP on the Development Review Board. Certainly, if I am elected, I will consult not only with those folks, but with others in town government in order to get up to speed, which I realize is going to take some time. It's going to take all of our candidates some time to essentially become informed about what's necessary to go forward on the issues that we will face. As far as other committees are concerned, well, I'm currently a member of the Development Review Board. And another committee that I would be interested in serving on is the American Rescue Plan Act Committee, because we're getting a lot of money here, over $700,000. And there's a lot of work to be done in terms of planning for this, applying to the state and the feds for it. And yeah, this is a vital committee. And okay, I would be on several committees, but I've got the time. I'm a retired lawyer, and I think I bring sound, balanced judgment would to the board based on my 45 years of being a lawyer and my years of experience on other boards.
Okay. Any other select board member? Laura, sorry.
Yes, the question is, What strength? Would you repeat the question?
So my question was, how would you prepare yourself to be on the select board? How would you get up to speed on all the different issues that are covered? And the second part of the question was, so if you're not elected, what community board or volunteer effort would you be interested in joining?
Okay, thank you, Janice. I got distracted by all the people that are so well organized. I have been taking an immersion course in what goes on in Putney and how our governance is working and revising plans and writing grants. And I must say, I have not succeeded in delineating the various committees and commissions that, of course, they all overlap, or positions for that matter. But I think I'm under consideration for participation on the Wilson Wetlands Stewardship Advisory. And by gosh, it certainly needs some attention, as Karen pointed out earlier this evening. The preparation is digging deeper, always digging deeper and connecting more strongly with my neighbors and the people that are the movers and the shakers in the town, but the people with whom I live at Putney Meadows, who may not be movers or shakers, who may be isolated or unable to leave a wheelchair, you know? So it's a broad view that I feel the engagement with at least attending select board meetings has given me. I want to say that my reading and my study reveals the Putney that I feel a part of. The Planning Commission, the work that they're doing, and zoning regulations, what a resource. But I find that this is home to me and worthy of my protection. As I've mentioned a couple times, I don't have a family. So Putney really has become my family. And I feel that it's really worth going to any lengths to embrace the changes that are taking place and somehow preserve what is most important to me, even ethically speaking. So that's what I have to say on the question.
Okay, thank you. Bryce, you have your hand up.
I just wanted to say, in terms of preparation for the job, I've been to numerous select board meetings, but mostly in Westminster. We own an old quarry that they built on 91, and so we've had many issues surrounding, police protection and so on about our property. But so I know the procedure of how a select board works, and I believe that you can't allow your emotions to get involved so much, like there's an actual procedure in government as to how things, unfold. And I feel like knowing a lot of the people in the community of Putney, that I might be able to, seek out information, that's a little less readily available to everyone. What was the second part? If I didn't get elected, I certainly would be more than willing to be on like a planning commission or I'm trying to think, not necessarily zoning, but like a planning commission as to as to what Putney is moving forward. I like Elizabeth's plan that, we need to look forward and what is the plan for the long haul, so to speak, for Putney. I feel like Putney to some degree is in a place where it's lost its identity, and we're trying to figure out where that identity is now. So I guess that's the answer to that question for me anyways.
Perry.
If I was elected, I would ask questions. I live almost 1,000 feet away from Eric, so I'd probably talk his ear off and do research on what the duties of the select board is and how to do the processes. And if I wasn't elected, I don't know what the committees are, so I can't say which ones I would join.
All right. Elizabeth, did you want to say something else?
Yes, thank you. I had little notes for myself and I just missed one of them. I wanted to note that on October 6th, the ARPA money was announced in the select board meeting and the need for an ARPA committee was stated at that time. And what I understand from reading up on the ARPA funding is that the town is due to submit a proposal with how they would want to use that money or on April 30th.
No, actually, there's a report that's due.
I just wanted to understand that. So
yeah, we still have plenty of time to obligate the money. And one of our agenda items is to stand up an ARPA committee later this evening.
Excellent. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we have opportunities for engagement in this very valuable gift from the gods almost.
Absolutely. Okay. I think that was everybody had a chance to answer that question. So are there other questions from the public online? Are there any questions in the room?
I can always have a question.
I'll open it up to the select board. Does anybody from the select board have any questions? No. Do you have another question?
I feel like I'm the Putney questionnaire.
That's okay.
That's my editorial experience. So whoever gets elected is going to be a very diverse board. I mean, diverse in terms of neighborhoods, education, profession, age, just the range, points of view on issues, and a lot of similarities too. So there's bound, in my experience of being on teams and boards, to be heated discussions and maybe even disagreements and maybe some conflict. So we've all had conflicts in our own lives, but I'm wondering how you would handle conflict. How would you handle conflict on the select board? You know, are you somebody that would like shut down, run away from it, or would you get emotional, like Bryce mentioned, you want to avoid? But I know it's a hard question, but as I'm sitting here looking at such a diverse group of people who I know all think really differently, I'm interested to know how you would handle disagreements on the board.
Janice?
Charlie.
Yes. From my legal experience, I've had an awful lot of opportunity to discuss matters with clients, argue cases before judges and juries, clients who have problems, arguments back and forth with other companies and people. And I've tried to bring a balanced and sound judgment to these issues and these matters and these contexts. And I think if there were disagreements on the board, which I agree there might very well be, I think that I would advance my point of view. If I disagreed with others, I'd probably vote the other way. But I'm a pretty even-tempered fellow, and I think that I would be able to work with my colleagues even if we had a difference of opinion. And my experience with other boards has led me to the same experience, and I've handled it rather well.
All right. Somebody else want to answer? Perry?
I would try and discuss it the best of my abilities and try not to have so much emotion in my decision-making process, more than thought.
Laura? You're muted.
There we go. I do think taking action and participating with an open mind and a willingness to hear other points of view and to refrain from jumping to conclusions or attaching to outcomes, so that something can evolve that more people can feel a part of and this takes skill, and this takes practice, and this takes courage, as I mentioned the other day. But and I think it takes an extra dose of courage when you're in your 70s and you're a woman, but or when you're in your 30s and you're a woman. So it's very important for me not to give tacit agreement or to sit silently on the sidelines, but share the time with others and try and find the common denominators. And that's where the digging deeper comes in for me. Conflict. We all want consensus and unanimity, but I think if people stuff their true assessments and don't participate in the discourse, then it's a setup for trouble later on. Thank you.
Somebody else have an answer? Elizabeth? Deborah, I'll get to your question in a second. We're still on this question.
I'm a person who asks questions, and I also am a researcher like Peg. I like to get as much information as possible. I found it difficult to ask questions in a committee in this town, and I feel it's really important for people to voice concerns and to be heard by those who are on the committees or in the select board. And I feel that given all the research that I have continued to do, that I am willing and open to many solutions as long as there's engagement with as many people as possible.
Anybody else want to answer the question? Peg?
Yeah, well, when I think about conflict in any group, there's a lot of work that happens before the conflict happens, and that's the relationship building part of it. And I think the more that we are in respectful relationships with each other, the more tolerance we have for conflict and the more tolerance we have for differences among us. So I think that's really important to focus on, is the relationships that develop from the get-go and the respect there. I also think adhering to certain processes is an important part of conflict resolution, that there are agreed upon processes that we're working on. That's useful when it comes to conflict. And also I would just share that my background is in cross-cultural communication, that is what I teach. I teach about differences and how we bridge differences and how to look. I teach students how to look at the world through another person's point of view. And so I bring that all to this select board experience as well. Yeah.
Does anybody else, did everybody answer the question? Do you want to?
Yeah, sure. I'll make a brief statement. I deal with so many different people. And so I feel like I have really good people skills, and I think it's really important to, take everybody's opinion in and make the right decision for everyone. I wish there was a better way to maybe get more of the public involved. One of the reasons why I did run, which the straw that broke the camel's back, was just hearing from, Jonathan Johnson, that less than a third of the people in Putney actually voted at town meeting. I mean, that's kind of concerning. But I feel like I definitely can listen to all views and have the ability to make people understand or understand how other people feel and what their other opinions are. So I think I could be really good at, at least being able to, listen to all parties.
All right. Yeah.
You have two hands that I raised.
I can't see those.
Yes,
All right, so I believe Deb had a question, and then we have Vanessa and Heather. So let's go with Deb, and then I'll go to Vanessa, and then I'll go to Heather, okay? So Deb, you're up if you saw the
I'm
question.
unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. As Josh knows, recorded Putney Select Board meetings for 4 years, and I worked in Vernon as well, so I know a little bit about how select boards work. And I know that the question about safety is an issue, and about the 40 hours of police that we have. So I'm wondering, of these candidates, would they be likely to request that we hire more police? I'm pretty sure that's going to come up at some point. So I'm just wondering how they feel about what we have currently in Putney and how they might like to improve it.
All right. Do we have a Perry? Go ahead. You're muted.
I feel we don't have enough police activity in Putney, and that we do need more. And I know it costs a lot of money, and I don't think that's an issue, but we definitely need more police presence. They had the arson at Rod's Mobile, the trailer across the way up on the road. I can't remember the name of, but there's always a need for more police.
Okay, I think Elizabeth, you had your hand up.
Hi. I had an interesting idea regarding policing and the cost of having all the specialists in policing. And I wondered if there was some way we could be talking to the other towns in the area and doing a collaborative effort. I talked about this at a couple of meetings in the past year, where it's similar to how we pool the money with the Southeast Supervisory Union. And if we work together, and especially, with rescue being, having the issues that have come up now, like this is another thing for us to be thinking about. How can we collaborate with our neighbors, with our other town managers or other select boards, and really sort of pool resources? We need more social workers involved. We need, we definitely need more policing, but we need multiple styles of policing. We need more diversity in policing. I spent the young part of my life outside of Chicago, and my mother was a physician at Cook County Hospital, one of the largest free hospitals in the country, where they serve the most chronically poor and in danger, where the Army comes and trains for gunshot wounds. And one of the things that Chicago had to do was collaborate with other neighborhoods to sort of integrate safety, security, policing, and social working. We're a small town, but we have neighboring towns that we can work collaboratively with.
Bryce?
There you go. Yeah, I believe that, I forget how long ago it was, but I believe that the town of Putney actually looked into adding an officer, and Karen would know better in terms of how much it was. I know the cost was quite large just to start it. I can't give you numbers because I can't remember, but I agree with police force. I think at least where I live on Pine Banks Road, we call it the Pine Banks 500 because people from Westminster and everywhere go really fast on it, and there's never a police presence. And just one other quick thing is, when Melissa was patrolling for us, she actually would go, I believe, almost every time she was in town and drive the back roads just to give a presence. So, maybe, if more people are concerned, we should ask the town manager to request that, that the sheriff's department could, go out on the back roads a little bit more. The other thing is, now that the school is part of the the supervisory union. I wonder if it's not worth approaching the school board and asking them if maybe part of their budget could help. I pick up my kids, especially in the winter, quite a bit, and I've noticed people going 50 miles an hour, as well as I've noticed people driving through the crosswalk. So maybe that's another thing we could ask, the school board to give us somebody to help with the crosswalk, because I've seen people go through it with the lights flashing. And, thank God the kids looked at what was happening, but, that could have been another tragedy, like what just happened on, Sand Hill Road the other day. There are a lot of people who walk on Sand Hill Road, and there are a lot of other people who don't, obeyed by the speed. So I guess that's what I have for that.
Charlie.
I certainly agree with all the comments that have been advanced by my fellow candidates. One thing that I've noticed since I came to Putney is there's no real police presence here. At least for many years, up until recently, the police department in Newfane was serving our town. And one officer would show up every once in a while, but there was didn't seem to be any plan in terms of where this police presence would be. Would it be in the center of town? Would it be on particular roads? Would there be a typical route that the police would follow every day? Certainly the difficulties that we've had in town over the past, it's 5 to 10 years, starting with the general store getting destroyed 2 times, the Sand Hill Road incident, the anti-Semitic incident downtown, rods, the fire that was set in the trailer last year. We really do need to have at least one policeman armed to help keep the town safe and to do what it takes to make sure that people feel comfortable throughout the town. And so I would advocate that. As far as the budget is concerned, yes, we have to watch our budget, as we all know. Whether or not we can raise some more money to hire an officer is obviously an open question. You could reallocate existing resources. Nobody wants to raise taxes, but we could find creative ways to get the funding and to do some recruitment to get a very talented police officer here in town.
Laura.
Just am fascinated by what I'm hearing. And I remember Melissa so well when her last name was Martin. I think she's changed it now, remarried or something. But there was a consistency and a continuity and a sense of someone who lived nearby. I may be thinking of another Melissa too. Is there a Melissa Harlow on the police force? Beg pardon? I missed that.
Are you thinking of Alyssa?
Harlow?
Yeah.
Okay.
She
yes.
used to be our town assistant. Yeah.
Administrative assistant.
And now is she in law enforcement?
No.
No. Okay. Okay. Thank you for clarifying. But what I want to refer to is rotating officers whom we only see every couple months don't really contribute to the sense of safety in a village as much as someone that is more local, more assigned to Putney, and who will be going on the back roads where so much happens too. It's so amazing to me, the amount of speeding that goes on. It seems like such a simple, basic respect for life and a community, but I'm just concurring with most of the thoughts that I've heard expressed on the subject. Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else like to answer the question? All right, so moving on, I'm going to let Vanessa ask her question, and I'm going to start limiting answers to about 3 minutes because it's 7:11 and we do have a full agenda. So Vanessa, you're up.
Hi there. First of all, thank you all for your willingness to step up and serve your town. It's a really difficult job, and got a puppy squeaking on a toy here, and a lot of work. And so thank you all for your willingness. It's a huge thing. Well, so first of all, I was struck earlier. I can't remember who mentioned it, but I had kind of the very opposite reaction, which was that Town Hall and the Select Board didn't post this meeting anywhere. I've been looking every day at the general store. I've been looking every day at the co-op. I went to the Town Hall website, and there was no notice of this meeting. And even on the Town Hall website, there is, if you kind of dig in there, it's finally on the calendar, but there's no link. And the only way to get a link is if you think to go to the Select Board, and then think to go to the agendas, and then think to do it. It doesn't seem like a very open or inviting way to get to know candidates. So I guess my first question is, as Select Board members, and this is something that I think our town has had a big problem with, is actually getting people to participate. And part of that problem is because Town Hall and committees and boards themselves haven't made an effort to get people to participate. And then when they do offer, they get turned down. Is, as Select Board members, what would you do to increase participation from residents and make Town Hall a more inviting, welcoming, and open place? And my second question was, having witnessed kind of close up, especially through David Babbitt and Josh, just how consuming the job of select person is. How are you going to make the time for it? Are your families prepared to not see you for the next, year or two? Do you have, how are you going to balance it with your jobs? I know at least one candidate who has said to me, in person, that they have a real hard time with scheduling and are behind, sometimes months at a time. How are you going to carve out the time and the effort that this demands and deserves? Thank you.
Okay, so that was 2 questions.
Yep.
And I'm going to give everybody 3 minutes, so speed round. All right, who would like to answer first? Charlie.
Yeah, as far as the notice is concerned, Vanessa, I agree with you that adequate notice is critical, particularly in terms of meetings like this and these forums where folks need and want to be heard. I do note that at the Select Board meeting, I think it was 2 meetings ago, John Johnson had the floor, and he laid out the schedule. And this particular meeting, the informational meeting, was mentioned. It was mentioned that it was going to take place today. If there's a situation where, if more needs to be done to get the word out, I, as a Select Board member, would surely support that. As far as your other question, I'm a retired lawyer, as I say. I've got plenty of time to devote to this job. I really want this job, and I don't think we should have any doubt that I'll do all that I can to be a success. I believe I will.
All right. Anybody else like to answer the question? Elizabeth?
I've been really hard to increasing engagement in our town. I've walked throughout our village and spoken to people door to door, and I'm sad we didn't get more people on tonight because I sent out email notifications. I was trying to get people because it is very hard to find things on the website, which is why I've spoken to web designers and have already been asking them to look at our website and see how we can improve accessibility. I think it might be good for the town to have its own Facebook site that's really all for notices, and we may have to change some rules about warnings and posting to increase accessibility by using social media, as well as the co-op board, the town hall board, the general store board, and the newspapers. These are fast moving and dynamic times, and we need to stay relevant, and that's going to be through more communication. Let's see, time. Well, I've all of a sudden become an empty nester, and it's really kind of shocking. And as a former parent of a very high level competitive gymnast, I know, Eileen, how much time goes into that. We also had circus and, everything you can imagine. I gained a whole bunch of hours suddenly, and I'm feeling like I want to commit them to our town and the well-being of our town.
Thank you. Peg?
I think the question of accessibility and inclusion is super, super important. From my experience, I don't feel that there's any committee or board that has been intentionally trying to exclude people. That's not been my experience. I feel like there's been lots of opportunities where people have reached out and been inclusive, but I do feel like there are ways, not intentionally, but because of lack of resources and lack of time, I'm sure, that we haven't been as inclusive as we could be. And so I would really prioritize that, the website, other ways to get people involved. And I just think this whole expansion of the board from 3 to 5, here's an example. There's lots of people who are super interested now in getting engaged, and I want to keep that going. Time for the job. I too have was a single parent and am now not. My child is an adult now, and I just am a good prioritizer. And at this point in my life, I would like to prioritize my town.
Thank you. Laura?
Yes, I wanted to address the part of the question about the town hall being a welcoming place. When I came back to Putney in 1990, there was an upper story that was often in use. And I don't know what's become of access to that. I was just thinking of meeting spaces. I too wish more people could have been here tonight. But also, because we're coming out of COVID, hopefully, it's really like a sort of rabbit warren downstairs. I used to be able to walk in and talk to people and register my dog and that sort of thing. There are a lot of closed off spaces downstairs, and I haven't been upstairs in the town hall for a very long time. Probably over 25 years. So maybe it's needs reconstruction or something. And as far as time goes, I'm part-time employed, but I have lots of room in my schedule. And and I would like to think of myself as a peacemaker and a reflective personality with an overview in these meetings and a sense of inclusion and giving everyone a chance to communicate their thoughts.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Oh, Bryce, are you saying?
That's
Did you get Heather?
I haven't gotten Heather yet.
All right.
So, so if there's no other select board answers, let's move on to Heather.
My question is regarding that 2/3 of our public service, our public safety services are contracted out. Every year, it seems like the sheriff's department's cost is rising and rising. Everything that just happened between rescue and BFD kind of brings up a lot of questions. So I guess my big question is how do we handle the rising costs? And when do we reach a point, or do we reach a point where we look elsewhere to bid on services? Or do we put them as a town-held appointment?
Somebody want to answer that? No takers. Elizabeth.
I think in some of the reading I've done that a lot of these options for services go out to bid. And I think we need to focus on our fiduciary duty to the town. A town that is under distress with too much drains on their infrastructure and services, a town that's not going to thrive. So I'm going to point back to what Charlie and I have been both talking about quite a bit, is the economic development and vibrancy of the town and thoughtful strategic planning to also develop sources of income for the town. We are a very heavy nonprofit town. And is there some way that we can collaborate with our nonprofit wonderful schools, and perhaps we can work collaboratively to contribute to the safety fund to help increase the budget for our fire rescue services and our policing. We need to be creative. We need to think outside the box, and we need to collaborate with as many of the other towns around as possible to address these. And so my vision of collaborative, more collaborative services with the towns, especially with policing and social services, could be very budget conscious for us going forward.
Does somebody else have an answer? Bryce.
In terms of budgets, I think it's difficult, as being a small town, because, not a lot of people want to see their taxes go up. But we also need to provide a certain amount of services. And, after talking with a lot of people in town, I know at one point in time, the private schools that we have in town had done quite a bit to help us with building the fire station. I don't know what percentage they gave, to helping build it, but perhaps it's now time to ask them again if we felt like we were in trouble or we needed some money. That might be an option to try and come up with some money so that taxes wouldn't go up and the same services could be provided.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other answer? Perry.
I think that if we put a camera on the stop sign at the bottom of the hill by the general store and give everybody that ran that stop sign a ticket, we could pay for it.
Is revenue.
All right.
If we can collect it.
The state takes most of it.
All right. Does somebody else have an answer to the question? Okay, doesn't look like it. So is there anybody else in the public who would like to ask a question? We've got Vanessa, do you have your hand up again? Or is it?
No, sorry. Let me take care of that.
That's all right. So are there any more questions in the room?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
If you're all done.
I think we may be all done.
Are you at the end? Because we're 2 hours into our meeting.
Let's
all right.
let's move it on.
Maybe I'll segue in then. So I want to thank everyone who is out here running as a candidate. I think, yeah, thank you very much. So I was going to try to do some damage control tonight, but seeing as we're 2 hours in, I'm going to forego that. It's very important that people have facts when they're communicating in the public, whether it be in person or on social media. I do see a lot on social media. I do not comment because I think it's important that if people have comments or questions that, you know, they can call the town hall and ask. So facts are very important. The other thing I want to say is, you know, it's good to have dissent. Healthy dissent is what I'd like to see. I know there's a lot going on in Putney right now. I listen to everyone. You know, we deal with a lot of different items. It's very complex. It's very complicated at times. I have a lot of balls in the air at all times. And it's not just a 5-day-a-week job being town manager. So I will welcome 2 new members to the board. There is a learning curve to this. The first year you're gonna be like, what am I doing? Shaking my head. And by the 3rd year you might, you know, be comfortable and hopefully you stay. The other thing too is, you know, I'm willing to work with anyone. And so whoever the 2 new candidates will be, and along with Eric too, I always offer this, you know, my office is open 24/7 pretty much, and Eileen can vouch for that, or Josh, when they get emails at.
On Sunday.
Yeah. 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
But I think it's been a good turnout. I mean, Putney Huddle did do a forum and it is online. It is on our website. We do have a Facebook page as well. I wanted to pass along some numbers from John Johnson. There's 1,988 voters in Putney. 215 have requested absentee ballots. 155 ballots have been voted and returned. There are your numbers, folks.
7% roughly.
Yeah. So we have a lot of work to do. The other thing too is there's 115 unlicensed dogs in the town of Putney. Get your dogs registered, be responsible dog owners. Otherwise, we're gonna have to have animal control come after you.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I would also like to thank everybody for joining us tonight, and I would also strongly encourage you to stay through the meeting so that you know what you're getting into. And that goes for the public as well, right?
It'll only be a couple more hours.
Yeah.
But in case you need to go, whichever 2 of you are the lucky recipients of the 2 chairs over here, we will be having an organizational meeting on April 27th, which is a Wednesday at 5:30, right?
Yes.
So it should not be a very long meeting, but we do need you to be here. So hopefully it's all in your schedule.
And that's a special meeting for us. That's not in a regular
Yeah.
meeting time.
Right.
Right.
Excuse me.
Yeah?
Can you,
I just want to
Wait,
thank
I'm sorry.
all.
Who was the first person to speak?
Vanessa.
Okay, hi, Vanessa.
Hey, just since you were talking about absentee ballots, can you maybe clarify whether there is in-person voting? And where and when that would be, please?
I don't have that.
Fire department on the 26th from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Correct.
There you go.
That's on the website also.
You can also come to town hall and vote in person
Yes.
between now and then, but you won't be able to vote in town hall on the 26th.
And I believe you can, if you have requested an absentee ballot, you can drop it off
Deposit.
at the town, the town business box out here, or bring it in to the town hall as well.
And you can register your dogs at the same time.
That's right. Charlie, do you have something to say?
I just have one more thing to say, and that is to thank you all on the select board and all of you who have participated in our meeting tonight, and particularly those who have had questions to put to us. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, if there's no further discussion on this, I'm going to close this portion of the meeting and move on. So the next thing on our list is the crosswalk on Kimball Hill and Hickory Ridge Road.
Which doesn't.
Kimball Hill, single pine, right?
No.
There's no
There's
intersection between those two.
Right, you're talking about two separate ones?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, that makes more sense.
So the crosswalk on Kimball Hill, in front of Putney Cares.
Across, you're talking about wanting one. We don't have
Yeah,
one.
we don't have one.
Right.
Right.
There was a suggestion to put one there, but we don't have a sidewalk on the other side.
Right.
So I spoke to Brian Harlow, the road superintendent, and you can't have a sidewalk to nowhere.
Yep.
So even on a town road. So I'm gonna have to inquire with Pep and see if it's even feasible, but.
We might be able to just have a landing of sorts on the other side, which is a possibility. We've been through this in the past on Route 5. The state is very strict about this for good reason.
Right.
But on 5, we've had discussions about having crossroads, and they're very hesitant to put crossroads across Route 5 anyway. But particularly one of the more notable places is sort of the end of Depot Road to the post office, somewhere in there, because there's no sidewalk on the other side. That's never been eligible for that.
Right,
so
okay.
I think that applies to all town roads as well.
So
I mean, I live right around there, and on Frost Road, if you were to go straight across, you'd end up, if there was a path up to the pathway to the noise house, there's a possibility there. That would be like more of a straight shot. If you went from Signal Pine, you'd have to do a kind of kitty corner to get to the driveway.
Right.
And there's also a turn there that is fairly problematic, even in a car. So we'd have to think about that as well.
I want to talk to Pep, and I'm going to inquire to Windham Windsor Housing Trust.
Have
them do something at Noise House.
Yeah. Because then we might be able to get a crosswalk there. But it's going to take a long time. And the same with Hickory Ridge. The grammar school asked for a crosswalk from the school to the field.
Yeah.
So and to have the lights like at Putney Central School, so the kids could cross back and forth safely. Because Hickory Ridge too, now that it's been newly paved, is, and I have asked the sheriff to go out there, so. And it's school vacation right now, so I'm gonna be requesting they go back out onto Westminster Road too. Because of what Bryce has said, because that concerns me quite a bit.
Yeah.
If people are going through when the lights are flashing and there's kids trying to cross. So,
I wonder if the school district would invest in crosswalk, yeah.
That might be a good idea. There's a new principal too up there. I think you all know that.
Yeah.
So as far as the grammar school, I know there's grants for safe routes to school. So that might be something, not necessarily me personally, but maybe the school can look into and.
Yeah, and that would, I mean, I don't know whether the classification of the road would make a difference, but the problem is, in that instance, there's not a sidewalk on either side of the road.
I know,
So,
I know, that may be the bigger problem, but the grant for the school might be able to build those sidewalks.
Yeah, probably just be a
Like we
landing
did
of
here,
some sort.
We did do one safe.
Safe route to school, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, that was just, the horseshoe was part of that.
okay.
And then
Yeah.
actually the lights were part of that, but the existing,
Mhm.
some of the sidewalk was already existing. But,
Right.
yeah,
It's an
I mean,
option.
at a minimum, up on Hickory Ridge, better signage, which we've had discussions about in the past, but it's tricky because it's also on a blind corner,
Yeah.
so.
So right now, it's gonna be tabled until I can see.
Do some research, find out what the state criteria are.
Okay. All right, is there any further discussion on that? Is there any public comment on the crosswalk on those two locations? Don't see anybody online, anybody in the room? Hearing none, let's move on to Selectboard VLCT training on May 11th.
So I believe Eileen and Eric, you're signed up for that one. So it is legal and effective meetings.
Yeah.
Which is a
Should
good
be
one
nice
for
one.
everyone.
Yeah.
It is the last of the series.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Is it too late to sign up the other two members?
You know, from reading the website, I think you needed to be in the first and the second series.
Oh, in order to take the other ones?
Yeah, because I'd like to take this one, but.
I mean, I think they recorded them, so
Okay.
I don't know, it might be worth,
I'll
reaching
inquire
out.
because I think it's important for the next two to
Yeah.
do this series.
Yeah. Yeah, there is some good information in those series.
Okay.
Um,
I'm gonna fast track them.
yeah, exactly. None of this learning about the job stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, is there further discussion on that? Any online comment in the room? All right, moving on. Look, we're flying now. Equity Inclusion Grant opportunity.
In your packet is from Windham Regional Commission. It was sent to me, an opportunity to get a grant, $10,000, and it's, we can submit at any time. There's no due date, but once the funds are gone, so if we want to consider this, we should do it sooner than later. I don't know if Swift is still in the meeting.
Swift, are you here?
No.
No.
So I sent her this information.
Okay.
As co-chair of the Equity and Inclusion Advisory Committee. Thinking that we'd like to get some feedback, but.
Yeah, I think I would like to have them recommend that we go for this grant or not before we go for it.
I think that's a good idea. I personally think we would be silly not to.
Right.
You know, it looks like, just given and I reviewed it not as thoroughly as I could have, but it looks like a pretty broad grant opportunity, which those are, you know, when they're very specific, then you really need to think it through. Something like this feels like it has a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, I would agree it should go through equity and inclusion first, but it seems to me like a grant we should definitely apply for because
Yes.
it's very applicable to a bunch of things we probably want to do.
Yeah, no, it did seem very comprehensive.
Their next meeting is May 6th.
Is that too far
And there
away?
isn't a deadline for us to submit this?
No, it's a rolling, it's on, you can submit on a rolling basis.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I mean, if we felt like we wanted to get in on it right away, then I'd be fine with that. I just feel like they should have some engagement in the process before we engage them.
Yeah,
With
well,
money.
and maybe it's just a conversation with Swift and Mark as the chair and co-chair of that committee.
Yeah.
Just see, I don't know, however you want to proceed, but
Yeah.
if you feel like it's any sort of a finite pot of money that we might miss out on, then getting an application in sooner rather than later would make sense, but it may not be an issue.
All right, is there further discussion on that piece on the select board? No? Online, Deb, you have your hand up?
Hi, I'm going to suggest that you get Peg Alden a copy of that grant, because that's what she said she does really well.
She does have grant experience, which is.
Yep. And that's what she wants to do for the town, so maybe she could get involved. Thank you.
It's public record, so do
Yeah.
you want to just let Peg know that
Yeah, it's online.
she can have it?
Okay.
But
Do you
I'll
want to
send
just
it
bring
to
that
her.
to her attention?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a
I
good
will
idea.
definitely.
Oh, Peg's here too. You just got volunteered for something.
She's muted.
I'd be happy to look at it.
Okay, great. Is there any other public comment? Anybody in the room? Any more discussion here? Okay, so moving on again. I don't think we had to make any kind of
No,
motion
take
on that.
action on that.
All right. So we're moving to select board unfinished or other business. It's really mostly unfinished business.
Yes.
So Windham Solid Waste Management District request for the letter of support. We talked about this last meeting. And so we asked Dan Toomey to write us a letter, and it looks like he did that.
Yes.
You have 3.
It's a thorough letter. There's one to each of Patrick Leahy, Bernie Sanders, and Peter Welch, and seems pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, I didn't see anything
As far
that
as
I
the
would
letter is concerned.
need to change.
And I don't remember exactly how we stated it the last time around as far as being in favor of this, but I would like to make a motion that we approve the sending of the letter that Dan Toomey has drafted to our congressional
It does
representatives.
look like we have to sign it, so.
Second that.
Second that. So it's been moved and seconded to send letters of support for the Windham Solid Waste Management District to the 3 representatives. Is there further discussion? Any comment online? There's a cat tail. Any comment in the room?
I just had a question. So what's the purpose? I mean, are we
for-
asking them to support?
This is for the construction of an increased composting facility for community organic waste, and Dan presented it at our last meeting. It's roughly, I think they're requesting in the range of $500,000 to do construction of the building, and we aren't specifically applying for that grant, but it's a letter of support.
Thanks.
So,
Right.
yeah.
All right, is there any other comment from the public? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Public records policy review and adoption. So you've put this together.
I did. Did you have time to read it?
I read it a while ago, but I didn't see anything that stood out to me that I would change. It's pretty much the same template.
As VLCT.
This is the VLCT.
Yeah.
And there was a question as to whether, the one thing I did note was that we had a question as to whether if there was a appeal, whether it would go to the chair or the select board or directly to
It
another
says in
form
here,
of
you may
release.
appeal any or all of the withholding of these public records to the town of Putney town manager.
Right,
And
but
then
then
where it will
beyond
go
that,
from there, right.
where did I see that?
It's on the second to last page. much.
Oh, I
There's
think-
more
oh,
language
I-
about it on the last page
Oh, you know what?
as
Okay, so
well.
it's
Yeah.
been changed a little since the last time I saw it. So it would go to the town manager, select board, possibly, and then beyond that, it would go to Superior Court.
Yeah.
Correct.
That makes sense. Okay.
Which is the statutory
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
procedure.
So I think this is
Ready for approval.
ready for approval.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the Town of Putney Public Records inspection, copying, and transmission policy as presented.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the public records inspection, copying, and transmission policy. Is there further discussion? Is there public comment online? Any in the room? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Old Route 5 and Alice Holway Drive speed limits.
So we had talked about this at a previous meeting. And what is the select board's?
So we had to do a traffic study first, so we did that.
We did that, yes.
Okay, so, and I think you were possibly gonna walk us through how it would work if we were to change the speed limits or specifically put speed limits on those roads.
Well, there's options, but if we're gonna change speed limits, we should do them all at once. So Alice Holloway, I agree that it should be changed based on the traffic study that was done.
Okay.
And how that impacts Old Route 5. Old Route 5, we may have to look at, some sort of traffic calming
Yeah.
measure. There was talk about a three-way stop there as
Right.
well. But as far as the speed limit goes, I mean, pretty much everybody's, the average is 35. Is that too fast?
On that piece of road, I would think it is.
Yes.
It's a residential area and people do walk on that road and there's no sidewalk.
Right.
And what's the posted speed limit there?
There's no posted speed limit on
So,
that one.
which would put it at 35, then, I
Yes.
believe.
Well, there is a speed limit sign right at the corner of Route 5. Going south, you can't see it because there's a
Right, you
tree
can't see
limb.
it.
There's
So
a
it's not
tree
there.
limb,
Right,
and I've asked to have it, cut.
But I think it's also, northbound is people are coming out of a
Right.
sort of
Right, you
no
don't even
man's
have it.
land into the village pretty
Yeah.
quickly
Yeah.
there.
And most of the traffic is going north,
Mm-hmm.
so it's coming off of Carroll Brown or going, from Dummerston.
Okay.
Most of it is going north.
Right.
so is it as simple as us proposing a speed limit and then,
It's not that, well,
it's not that simple, I
you
don't
can
think so.
propose, so it's in an ordinance.
Right.
All the speed limits are in the traffic ordinance, which will need to be warned 30 days ahead of time.
There's a public comment period.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
So what is your preference? What do you want?
I mean, you mean for speed limits? Or, what is Alice Holway right now? 35? Is that also
I'm
35?
not sure, I don't even know if
I don't think there's a sign on that. I mean, I would think at least 25, maybe 20 for that piece of road.
Yeah.
And then the piece of Old Route 5 would be 30 high. 30 is the highest.
Can we ask perhaps Windham Regional or somebody to make a recommendation for us based on this
Sure, yeah, that'd
information
be better,
and
yeah.
the site visit, et cetera? And
Because they
I
did the
agree
traffic
with
study,
you,
right?
but
Yeah.
I
I'm just pulling numbers out of my head.
exactly, and I think we should,
Yeah.
at least have somebody say, well, typically this would be, and for Old Route 5, I would think that would be, posting of signage so that as you're coming, I'm not sure that, it should probably, I think 35 for most of Old Route 5 is probably fine.
Yeah. We wouldn't have jurisdiction.
South
north
of
the-
Alice Holloway, but
Right.
north of it. But there should be a transition period too, same as when we changed it up here by the school.
Right.
You have to have signage that says
Reduced.
reduce speed ahead, and then, so
Yeah,
the
there's a
other
whole
thing is, you know,
process.
as we do this, we should keep Brian in the loop so that he can be ordering signs, et cetera, so.
And we don't have jurisdiction over most of Route 5, old Route 5 anyway. That would be because the Dummerston line's right there.
Part of it, yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right, so,
Right there, in fact, yeah, it's not far
Yeah,
at
we
all.
have to work with Dummerston too, to like, you know,
what signs?
from their side, going north.
Because it might, yeah, a reduced speed ahead sign might actually end up in Dummerston.
Now, this
That's a good point.
traffic study was done by Windham Regional Commission
Right,
for
so,
Old Route 5, and it was from the old library to
Right.
Harold Brown.
Yeah.
right.
So,
I just think somebody who does traffic should make, and recommendations, I would say, about traffic calming right there too. I mean, I think I would be fine with a three-way stop there, but somebody who knows a little bit more about it probably ought to comment.
So I might be able to get like an opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Jeff Nugent.
That'd be great.
The other thing too is, in May, the counters will be going out, traffic counters on the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I did request counters for Alice Holway.
Yeah.
So I can ask Jeff about that too.
Okay.
Once we get that data back.
Yeah.
So I can either stall this a little bit.
Well,
or
we don't have to do Alice Holloway at the same time. I mean, my feeling,
Do one at a
my own
time.
personal feeling would be, let's get an opinion about Old Route 5. Let's get that moving
Yeah.
along because there's a comment period, et cetera.
Yep.
And then Alice Holloway once we
Do
have more information, and once we.
Yeah, we can do them at different times. Yeah. Jen.
Is it appropriate to make
Yes.
an observation? As somebody who walks a lot on that area, people do walk all the way down to Waterman Road.
Yes.
Or even just before Waterman, is it Fred Houghton that's there?
Yes.
People often walk that far and then turn to the right. So, I mean, if the speed could be
But that's
slow.
Dummerston.
I know it's
jurisdiction
Dummerston,
on
but
that
just
one.
as an observation,
Yeah.
if you're thinking about the walkers, they do walk that far. Beyond that, less likely because it's a lot darker.
Yeah.
I suppose we could reach out to Dummerston and ask them
Yeah.
if they would be willing to do their own traffic study on that road and reduce the
I mean,
speed
it
limits.
becomes Dummerston and Ramones or something.
We're very right there somewhere.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, the other thing to do, I mean, I think it would make sense to communicate with Dummerston about it, again, about where the signage would land, but also we might want to ask for a recommendation for us. Well, we don't want to, I was going to say, once we know what we're doing, we
Right.
could then say to Dummerston, this is what we're doing, do you
Right.
got, or we could try and coordinate it at the same time,
Yeah.
either way.
Yeah.
Whatever you think makes the most sense.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
All right. So,
And when I have some information, I'll bring it back to you.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good way to go.
Right.
All right. Is there more discussion on that here? Are there any comments online? Okay, hearing none, we're going to go to the financials, third quarter.
There is a handout online.
Oops, I'm sorry. Was somebody, Bryce? I'm sorry, I missed that hand.
My video isn't working anymore, but I'm not sure if it pertains to town roads, but there is, when you cross underneath the railroad bridge on 123 in Westminster, there is a sign that says if speed limits aren't posted, that the legal state limit is 50 miles an hour. So I just figured I'd throw that out there because I've seen that sign for the last 40 years. And I don't know if that pertains to town roads or not, but I know it's, it does say that.
It does, Bryce. It applies. We had this discussion with Melissa years ago, and it, in fact, I always thought it was 35 on the dirt roads and 50 on paved roads, but it is in fact 50 everywhere. So
I believe you're right.
You can go 50 on the dirt roads if you choose, if they're unmarked. But we should find out. We should find out where, because I think there is a sign somewhere on Old Route 5 for a speed limit. So we should find out where it's marked.
I mean, I have looked for it and I did not see it, but I believe people if there's one that's hidden behind a branch.
Yeah, there's probably more than one.
And or coming north, I
Yeah.
think there's one, but I don't know. Yeah.
I had one other quick thing about that too, is I know that many people, like Swirl, have complained just about people turning around as well. It's a different subject matter, I guess, but that they use Swirl to turn around, as well as I use Janet Wells's old house to store a lot of my stuff, and there's always people like going pretty fast, to turn around there as well. So,
Can I comment?
Yeah.
We are aware that part of that problem is related to the lack of signage in the Alice Holloway co-op, that whole area. So if we could get cars that were wanting to get back on 91 or back on 5 to actually not go on old Route 5, that would probably diminish that pretty significantly. We're working on that thought. We're not quite there yet.
A lot of the people though are I tend to find are locals that I've seen do it, as well as they come in from actually Route 5, on near Depot Road, as opposed to they're not coming through and then turning around at Swirl to go back. They're coming in from Route 5 itself on Depot Road to go the opposite direction, because there's no way to turn around. So they use old Route 5, turn around in Janet Wells or Swirls, and then go the opposite direction on Route 5.
Okay. All right, thank you. Was that Deb? You're muted.
You're on mute,
You're
Deb.
muted, Deb.
Deb,
You're muted.
Unmute. Okay, I didn't realize I didn't do it on the panel. You have to do it in the window. I've thought so much about this because it really affects me where the traffic flows. And my thought is that the original deed that broke that parcel up into 10 was designed for 10 businesses. That was supposed to be commercial. And we're not going to have commercial there. We're going to have commercial real estate. And so my thought is that we don't really need Alice Holloway Drive. If we could fix the entrance to the co-op, that people could come in and out like normal people do. They could still use Carol Brown Way. The locals, could use it. And then, Windham Wizard could place their building down lower, like where the road is now. And it could be in where the road is, so that it would be using land that was already disrupted by the Act 250. And frankly, the height from the hill and where the road is about the height of the building. So if they did build there and had their access route on Route 5, we could open that whole space like Burlington has, a city block open. We could have that space as open space. I'm just throwing that out because I have tried every which way to figure this out. And really, Carol Brown Way is the problem. But, if you like it, keep it. It's just a thought.
Can I comment?
It's another public record. I'm going to suggest that you consider the idea of redesigning the roads. You're going to have to get V-Trans involved, and it would make a lot of sense. And I haven't really mentioned this to anyone that didn't say, that's a really good idea. So I've lived here for 50 years. I kind of know how the traffic flows, and I think fixing the entrance at 91, that we have 3 triangles and 1 state highway. We do not have a town that can actually expand out east or west because it's just ridge and wetland. So anyway, that's sort of the issue ecologically. Okay, I'm going to stop now.
Okay.
So one of the things related
you
to
have a
that,
question for me?
that Karen and I have spoken about is the possibility of making Carol Brown Way one way. going south. That's a possibility, but
No, we said East-West Road. There's no south on Carroll Brown.
Sorry,
You mean
Alice Holloway, sorry,
But
yeah.
you know what? It's not needed. We don't
Well,
need it.
okay, but Deb, that's your opinion.
That's my
But I think the state of Vermont would disagree with you, because my recollection is that the intersection at the co-op is designed as a one-way because the state of Vermont did not allow us to make it two ways coming into a triangle. So I'm pretty sure that is not changeable, but I could be wrong.
Well, I mean, and there may be some issues with delivery trucks as well. I mean, I'm always open to the possibility of redesigning things if that makes sense. That's not
a different
really
discussion.
what we're talking
Yeah,
about here, but it's good. It's a good comment. Deb, I need you to be acknowledged by the chair before speaking, please.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I had a casual conversation with Ed, the manager of the co-op, and he didn't disagree that it was not a good idea. It's really about the original document had two accesses on and off on Route 5. And then we changed that because it was a high accident area, and that hasn't changed. It's still a high accident area. So I'm suggesting looking at other ways to make it safer.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments on the traffic, the agenda item for the traffic on Old Route 5 or Alice Holway Drive, which was supposed to be about speed limits?
Right.
Doesn't look like it. So we're going to move on to the financials, the third quarter financials, questions and comments.
Did you have any questions from?
I don't have any questions.
All right.
We're putting all the money in we're not putting all the money in ARPA. We're putting all the ARPA money in an ARPA fund, right?
I've done that.
We got recommendations back from everyone, said that that's a good idea.
From the auditor,
Yeah.
from NEMRIC, from Steve Buckley at VLCT. So we've done that today.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do for the next meeting, probably for the May 4th meeting, is I'll have a trial balance, through this month, and then we'll see where our numbers are.
Okay.
Okay.
I was thinking we could put a few things on the agenda next week if we want to get ahead of anything.
I already have something.
Awesome.
Because of our fund.
Okay. All right. I don't have any concerns or questions about it. Does anybody else?
Well, at any time, people can call me and ask questions.
Okay.
Sit in my office.
Go
I will
through
shadow you.
Pass me the folder.
Yes. All right. We're getting towards the end, which is good because I'm losing my voice again. Boards, committees, and commissions, ARPA interest letters for appointment.
So in your packet, there are interest letters. Now, I'm not sure if you want to make decisions tonight or you want to wait for the two new members to come on board. Because we still will need a planning commission member.
Mm-hmm.
We will need a select board member per the resolution. So, let me just see.
What if we put this off until next week and we can
You can review the ones you have in your packet.
Yep.
Whether or not I will get any more interest, I'm not sure.
Okay.
But
I mean, I think this is a good slate of people.
And I recommend the board to look through the resolution, because again, you're going to need someone for a profit business owner.
Okay.
You need representative from Putney, nonprofit organization, a member of the select board and planning commission. And I'll be on there as a non-voting member.
So we may have more candidates
Then
than we need from the wrong places.
Right, and here's the thing too, and I'm not sure, I don't really want to change the resolution to add more members, but what might be considered is to create subcommittees under the main committee. And then they can have different tasks or whatever, but people can engage that way as well.
How many members did we originally say?
It's like 5, right?
We probably created 5 because we didn't think we were going to get more than 5.
Right.
What do other select board members think on this?
I think we could, well, we have to figure out who we have that makes sense and doesn't make sense.
Right.
You know, somebody like Lisa could fit into the category of being as her role on the Historical Society could probably represent a nonprofit. The other person that I don't see in here that I know had expressed an interest, at least in being part of the conversation, was Virginia Scholl.
Right. I should reach out to her.
Because she
Charlie mentioned it too.
she would represent potentially,
Yeah.
not next stage,
Sandglass.
Sandglass, yeah.
So your resolution reads that this committee shall have no more than 7 and no less than 5 members.
All right. Well, then maybe we're good then.
Maybe. If we can get 7, that'd be great.
That would be awesome. Because
Yes.
we have 5 here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a select board member and 1 other person.
And the planning
for
commission,
profit.
right? And then,
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Well, then one of these people has to join the planning commission.
I already have I have somebody. I have my eye on someone for the planning commission. Not the official mayor.
All right. So I guess we're going to table this and think about it a little bit more. But it's really exciting that we have all of this interest for this committee because we do need to get this going, and it's great to have people engaging. So is there any public comment on that? Okay, hearing none, let's go. For we are going to have an executive session, right?
Yes.
Does someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we enter executive session under Title I, Section 313A2 to discuss the negotiating or securing of real estate purchase or lease options.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session under Title I, 313A2. Before we do that, I want to again mention that we are going to have a special meeting next week, April 27th, 2022, with 2 additional seats here to fill the room as the reorganization of the select board. And then our next regular meeting will be May 4th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. Is there any discussion about executive session?
Will we be making any decision?
No.
Oh, no, okay. So,
All those in favor?
all those in favor, thank you.
Sorry. Aye.
It's 8:10.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Okay, so thank you, everybody.